Hello and welcome to another meeting of the Tropical Rum Society. As always, I am Matt, and if you watched last week's video, you will know that we got a pretty similar situation. Got the same wall, same shirt, and I am in the same hotel in Bangkok. But the difference is, this week, I almost dropped it, this week we are talking about Hong Thong, a different rum from last week. So, we'll just basically jump straight into it. As I did last week, this is a pretty unscripted video. I think I've got 5 or so dot points in my notes here, so it's going to be off the top of my head and just see where it goes. But one thing I am going to do is try and get the actual pour in shot today, because last week it didn't go so well. Anyway, like I said, we're talking about Hong Thong, which is another Thai-based beverage. Now, to be quite blunt about it, I'm not entirely sure if this is a rum. It is a molasses and rice-based blended spirit, is what it says on the label. But again, there's very, very limited options for me to actually pick up here. So while I was out, I went to a different 7-Eleven than the one I went to last week, and they happened to have Hong Thong, which I saw on the producer's website. It says that it is molasses-based, and that's basically what rum is. So it doesn't really say what the blend is between like the percentages of rice-based and molasses-based, but it's as close as we're getting, so we're calling it a rum for the purposes of today. So, what is there to know about this? Well, firstly, it is a 35% ABV spirit. It's a brown spirit, and like I said, it's a blended spirit mix. So, not as strong as last week, not as strong as your standard rum, but still probably going to pack a fair punch. It is incredibly cheap. So, this 350ml bottle that I've picked up is, I think it was about 120 Thai baht, which roughly translates to about $5 Australian. So a very, very cheap bottle, and I don't have super high expectations for it for that purpose. Now, again, this is another one that's very regional specific, so I'm guessing you're probably not going to find it very often outside of Thailand, but it is one that is quite popular in the area for mixing into mixed drinks. So much like last week, I've got some Red Bull here, some Thai-style Red Bull, so it's not carbonated or anything like that. And we're going to mix that in, see what it's like with that, so that we can do a comparison with last week's SangSom. So, I think that's pretty much it that I had in my dot points here. Let me just take a quick look. Yeah, that's it. That's all I had that's written down, so the rest of this is straight out of here. So, first up, let's just take a quick look at the bottle. It's got a screw-off top. It's definitely pretty cheap. The bottle itself, like, it's a convenient shape, nice little size there, but nothing too flashy, nothing too special. It's definitely a pretty plain label. Like, looking at it, it's basically just the name, the percentage, the volume, and then a barcode. So really not giving very much away on that label there. The color, nice and brown, but we'll get into the, you know what, we'll pour it now. And I'm gonna try and get nice and low this time. You know what, maybe even angle it up towards me. So we've got this here. This one does not have the simple pouring device that the SangSom did last week. So I'm gonna have to be a little bit more careful as I pour this into my hotel glass here. That sounds like it's enough. I can't tell because I'm looking straight down at it. But yes, I think that's an adequate amount. So taking a look at it, is definitely a very brown spirit. It's on the deeper side of brown. There's a little tinge of gold around the outsides, but it's a very, very deep brown, reddish color. Very, I was about to say rusty, but not really rusty. More like a cola kind of color. So let's have a bit of a sniff. And much like last week, this glass is not good at getting a scent out of. But this one almost kind of smells more like a whiskey to me. It doesn't really have what I would expect out of a standard rum. Like last week with the SangSom, at least had some familiar rum characteristics. But yeah, this one, if you didn't know it was molasses based, I don't think that you would pick it as being even close to a rum. So, interesting. Very woody. It's almost bourbon-like. This is the closest thing that it reminds me of. Maybe a little bit of vanilla in there. Sweeter than what I would expect from a whiskey, actually. But definitely not a familiar rum scent. Let's have a sip. Ooh, okay. Well, it has a very short finish. Like, that basically, as soon as it left my mouth, the flavor was gone. So there's not too much to taste there. It's very thin feeling. Doesn't really burn, doesn't really pack much into it. There's really not too much to say about that. That is surprisingly flavorless. It's not like a vodka. There's definitely some elements of flavor to it, so it's not completely like unflavored and you're just getting the sense of alcohol. I'm just gonna hold my arm up, apparently it's tired. But yeah, it's definitely like there's nothing stand out about that. That's not giving me much. I'll take one more sip here. Yeah, really surprising in how like little there is to it. There's maybe a little bit of those wood notes, but yeah, that's about it. Like, again, really unfamiliar from a rum. Like, there's no rum characteristics that I'm noticing. There's really not much of anything though, so definitely hard to have rum characteristics when there's no characteristics at all. Now, as I said, we're going to try and mix this with some Red Bull. We'll just pour a little bit more in here and try and... Oh, I forgot to undo the Red Bull before the video. So that's fun one-handed. Just try and transition over here. Smooth change on that and come on back. And we're going to mix in this Red Bull into this. Now, what I'm expecting from this, hopefully that's a decent ratio, but what I'm expecting is that the Red Bull is definitely going to overpower the Hong Thong on its flavor component here. So I'm guessing this is basically going to taste like an alcoholic Red Bull, but let's find out. Yep, as predicted, that's basically just taste. Those two pretty much taste identical. Like, I would be hard pressed to find the difference between the two. Like, this doesn't even really taste alcoholic that much. Now, that could come down to the ratio, because I definitely did not measure it out. Didn't really take a look at it because I was looking at the glass from above. But I reckon that this would be a very easy way to get dangerously drunk because it has such a lack of flavor. Which is surprising because you would think that being a brown liquor, it would have a little bit more flavor to it. But that being said, I didn't actually see anywhere that it was aged in any barrels, so that color could be coming entirely from just added color elements. But not sure about that one. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments below, but I did not see it anywhere because there is a surprising lack of information from any sources on Hong Thong. So, what is there to say about this one overall? Really, not too much. Like, there's not much flavor. It doesn't really smell very much. Like, it's got a little bit of smell to it, but it seems more like a whiskey than a rum. But that being said, it does mix supremely well because I can't even taste it in this Red Bull. So if you want a very cheap way to get drunk while you're here in Thailand, then Hong Thong might be the kind of spirit that you are looking for. That's going to be it for me today. Again, I don't have a shelf to go put this on, so I am just going to go ahead and, I don't know, put it in my backpack or something like that to take it with me next week. But that's it. Hong Thong, very cheap, very little flavor, but I wasn't really expecting much from it anyway. I am glad that I managed to find just a half-size bottle because it's not one that I will be savoring or sipping on. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for meeting with me today. Thanks for being at the meeting, I suppose. And I will see you next week when I will be in a different part of Thailand, so should be a little bit different background for you. Thanks for stopping by. I've been Matt, and this has been the Tropical Rum Society. I will see you in the next meeting.